Alright, welcome back. It's been a while. This tutorial is going to be about doing custom clothing, basically clothing that is not from GTA itself, and how to do skinning. It's only going to be basic skinning, but apparently people don't really know how skinning works, and they don't seem to want to look up actual skinning tutorials, so I'm going to go over the basics just to show you how and what to do. So also, in case of you using any 3ds Max that is above 2017, and if you're using the modified version of GIMS Evo, if you're having any issues with those, I am not providing any support because those are broken. So there is that, just a heads up. So first things first, we are gonna find in this case a piece of clothing that we want to use. I'm gonna use this guy's jacket just for the skinning tutorial part, and I already have a what's it called, a mask that is ready to go. That is a custom, well, not custom mask, but it's a custom, not 3D, not GTA asset. So first thing, we're gonna get the IGMP agent, so we're gonna do that in OpenIV like always. We're gonna find his folder, and in this case we don't want the JBIP, we probably want the upper, so we want the jacket. So we're gonna right click, export, and then I have already my folders created. Like as per usual, you can do whatever you want where you can find it. I'm gonna put it in my jacket folder. I'm gonna export the upper as well. And then, as per usual, or in like we've done in previous tutorials, we want the skeleton files. I have already done that. As you can see, I have them already renamed and everything, but just for good measure, I'm gonna redo it just so you can do it. So we're gonna search for npm free mode 01. You're gonna scroll down until we find the correct folder, which is this one. I'm gonna open this so you can see this is the path. I'm gonna do that. And we have the MP free mode, so we're gonna right click, export that into this folder. And then when we have the scale file, I'm gonna rename it to our reference model. So in this case I have a JBIP, so a shirt that I'm using as a reference. So this is something I found on my my website here. So it's an 007 JBIP, so I believe it's this one. So you can see MP. So if you're not using this website for references already, you probably should, because it gives you the exact location of what DLC it's part of, and then the model itself. All right, so in jackets, we now have our reference model, and we have the model we want to use. So in 3ds Max, we go to import, into jackets, and we import these two. If this is still going too fast for you, I suggest you go back and watch the tutorials that are actually like about this stuff specifically. Because this one is basically just doing the skinning and doing a custom model. Everything else you can learn from the other tutorials, how you import them, how you stream them, how you do everything else. So I'm just going to delete these because we now have, I'm just going to hide. Oh, so I broke something. As you can see, I still have fake bones on our 007. I'm going to go back and check. Why is that? Because I didn't put full at the end, like an idiot. So we're gonna import that one again. All right, so I'm just gonna hide this real quick. Now we have these. These are the upper bodies. You can see the texture is a bit wonky. It's probably using the wrong textures. That doesn't matter. since we already exported the textures, so we have them already. As you can see here. There's also this one. I'm going to show you how to fix these kind of normal maps if you get them, which is more than likely that you will run into these at some point. But for now, we're just going to like use this. So, like always, we're going to go back to our JBIB low, medium, high. So we're going to take our JBIB 007. Actually, first we're going to use the model we want to use. We want to weld first, because if you do the welding after you combine them, you're going to lose the skinning data. So we're just going to weld it as 0000 and so on. Going to do the same here, and going to do the same here. There we go. And we're going to go back to our JBIB high. Going to attach it to our upper. Gonna take our low, attach it to our low, and do our medium and attach it to our medium. And now we can hide these, go back, and then we select ID1 and delete. Then we select ID2 and make that ID1. You see, this for some reason fits. I don't know why, but it does. We go back and do it the same to our lower. Select there, and then whoops, we do select that, and we go back to this one, select 1, and select 2, and make that 2. So might as well fix the materials first. So material editor, we have our JBIB option. So bump map is gonna be fucked. As you can see, when we open our upper here, you can see it's showing the Photoshop icon. If I open this in Photoshop, the file itself is gonna be corrupt, meaning that you're not gonna be able to use it. See, it shows literally nothing. So the way to fix this is in OpenIV, you go to one of your random projects if you have one of those, or you can do it in your mods folder. It doesn't really matter. Just someplace basically. So I'm gonna just do it in my root folder here. Import that. So this is what it's gonna look like. This is a it's basically a different sort of normal map. It's still correct. It just, for some reason, it's another file type that breaks when you export. So I'm gonna just do a screen cap of this. So that's Windows button, Shift S. And then we just select it. Put it into Photoshop or whatever else you use. And we move it to fit. So you can see now we basically have it working. So what you're gonna do now is you're gonna go to the red. Actually, you're gonna go to blue. Gonna hit Control I to invert. Now you can see that we have what looks like a normal map. Then you're gonna take your layer and you're gonna duplicate it, and then you're gonna set it to multiply. So now we have what looks like a correct normal map. So we're just gonna save this one, save it on top of the normal map, and then we don't care about alphas. And saved. Just delete that from here, and we're done. So now we can go into, whoops, just gonna set that to unknown again. Going into our bump, and then we go into our skinning tutorial jacket. Go to, leave as upper. Select that. These are embedded. Then we go to diffuse, we go into upper and select that. It is using the wrong texture for some reason. Oh well. Upper, and it has a black specular map. So if you run into this issue, so I might as well. If you run into this issue that it doesn't update the texture, this is using a texture that I had before in a previous attempt to doing this tutorial. So I'm just gonna save this as a skinning. I'm gonna close 3ds Max and just open it again. That should sort it out. For some reason, sometimes the textures stay even though you change them, and it doesn't care. And then it's really just turning 3ds Max off and on again. And then we just open our scene back up. And there we go. I'm gonna set default shading to color flat. I'm gonna do a usual viewport clipping. And do we want to disable transparency? That's already off. All right, so we have our jacket here now. It's pretty high detail, but that doesn't really matter. So when we want to do skinning, skinning in itself makes a lot of sense. It's not really that hard to do. But if you haven't really touched it and you don't know what it is, it's a bit... it is a bit tricky at times. So when we click our jacket, there's a skinning modifier up here. So you can click on envelopes, basically enabling it. Then we hit F3 to get this view. And then we have the different bones that this shirt is attached to over here. So you can see as I go through this list, you can see how it changes colors at different places. So basically the colors mean that this specific bone is attached to these vertices with a different amount of weight or percentage. Red is usually in the higher end, meaning that it's almost 100% attached to something, whereas blue is in the lower end. It's maybe 10%. Yellow is 25. Orange is 50, and then dark orange is 75, and so on. So a lot of times for these jackets, when we do it this way, a lot of times it will break underneath the arm here. So if I go back to arm roll, this is over here, you can see that it's attached. It's not too bad for this one. If you go to, let's see, left upper arm. So for this jacket, it's not really too bad, but sometimes they break underneath the arm right here because they attach, and that means when you lift the arm, it takes those vertices out. So a decent way to check this when you have made a model is you enable angle snapping, and then you enable we select our things out here. I forgot the name. We put it on select and rotate. Go back into skinning, and then we select this collarbone, and then we lift it up. In this case, we are on the wrong one. So we're going to select our high and then go to skinning, and then we select the collarbone. Or we don't, because it's being a fucking asshole about it. Can I do it now? Pretty please. No? Alright. Alright, let's try again. Edit envelope, turn it off. So for some reason it's refusing to follow the bones. Again, this is probably a 3ds Max thing. Just being a fucking asshole, literally. Select the bone, pretty please. So it's working for the medium one. It's not working for the high one. So we're just gonna return that to the middle. Anyways, it doesn't matter too much in this case, I guess. What I would do is I would select this, rotate it 50 degrees so you have your arm basically straight out, and then you would be able to see the vertices stretch with it. But in this case, it doesn't want to follow. I'm not sure why. But doesn't matter. So for arm roll, you can see that there is attachments like these colors underneath the arm. We don't want those. That's bad. So you go into edit envelopes, you go to vertices, you select these ones specifically. Then you click on weight tool. You're gonna get this handy little thing here. So while we have arm roll selected, we select those and we hit on 0 because we don't want those to follow the arm roll at all. And then we do the same thing for the other side. You can see these are also attached. Hit 0. The rest looks alright. Obviously this takes a bit of going forth and back, checking the model itself. So I'm gonna delete these two because we don't need the low and medium. Obviously you want to do the same with the high, low, and medium, making sure that everything is attached to something in the bone. And now we check if it wants to rotate. No, still doesn't want to rotate. Alright, let's just reset and then load our scene again, see if it wants to cooperate now. No, still nothing. Why is it refusing to fucking do that? I'm very confused. There we go. It's because I had... Okay. Okay. I had this fucking active. Sometimes 3ds Max is just very not that great. So, like I said, angle snapping, rotating. Move this up roughly 50 degrees, maybe a bit more if you want to make even more sure. Gonna move this one up 50 degrees as well. And you can see these are being pulled out still, and so are these. So we go back into our skinning, and then we select just this part, and we click on this weight tool. And you can see we have a list of what bones are currently affecting this one specifically. So in this case, it's more than likely the upper arm pulling it, and the arm roll still pulling it. So we select that one, click on 0. You can see how it moves in. Do the same with arm roll, and then it moves in even more. So that looks about... It doesn't look right, but it looks okay. I'm gonna do the same over here. Select these and these vertices. And it's the same thing. It's probably arm roll and arm, upper arm and arm roll. So you can see it does that. Then there's something like this over here. We select the 3 that look kind of out of place. And then instead of hitting 0, we select arm roll, and then we just click on set weight and then the minus over here. You can see it moves in in steps. So that looks fine, other than this one specifically is a little bit too far in now. And see how it kind of goes in. So we select that one and then we hit on plus, moving it back out a little bit until it looks somewhat right. Still looks like he has very wide back, but other than that, it looks all right. So you're just gonna go around and move these vertices into positions that look right. As you can see, his underarm is kind of scuffed still. So in this case, this one more than likely needs to be pulled out a little bit. For the mesh. The same with this one. Has to be basically in the middle there. Ooh, and this one here. So it's basically going between the upper arm. There we go. Between the upper arm and arm roll. Just kind of hitting it with like a little bit of each. To make it look alright. But like I said, it's very much going forth and back. Checking if it looks alright. So you can see in here, there's like a very big incline or in like a dent inside his fucking armpit, which makes it look kind of odd, especially like here as well. We're just gonna pull those back out, and same with these here. So it's not perfect, but it's really like this is pretty extreme. The only like time you would have your arms, you know, at that degree, is if you do the T-pose in game. So we're gonna move the arm back in position. So we're gonna rotate it back to 50% or 50 degrees. 50 degrees. There we go. And you would pretty much just export it like usual, like in the previous tutorial. Using GIMS, obviously. Do I have GIMS open? No, I don't. And then do the usual thing. Make a texture dictionary and import it using either GTA utility or do a replacement. That's really up to you. But that is how skinning in the its basic form works. And if it still doesn't make sense, I'll show you real quick like the different colors and whatnot. So I'm gonna go down here and just select this arm real quick. This is obviously gonna fuck up the skinning, but it's just for showing. So I'm gonna click on grow just to select more of the arm. And then I'm gonna make it so it's 1. And then I'm gonna shrink it, making it 75. Shrink it 50. Shrink it 25. Shrink it 1. Shrink it 0. So now you can see that when I clicked on 1, it has the red, meaning that this part of the arm, which is in this case is probably the elbow, has 100% control of these vertices. Down here it has 75% control of the vertices. Down here it has 50, 25, 1, and none. So you have to it would make sense, you know, that two bones have like let's say at the back here, when you start walking, like when you start walking with your legs, both of these bones here would have an effect on the center. They would have like 50% effect on the center, because when you move your leg back and forth, you know, it has to follow, right? So back here it would have 50 on both of these two, and then out here this leg, like the left leg, would have 75%, whereas this one would have 25%, right? And then out here, this leg would maybe have 1% or 10%, whereas this one would have 90%. But you also have to keep in mind that obviously there's a pelvis, so skinning in itself is an art form. So yeah, now you know. So the other thing I wanted to show is how to do this with a custom model. Obviously you can do the thing we just did now, import the model and attach it. But then there's a few other things. So I have a mask that I want to use. So in my folder we have skinning and then we have mask. So we have beard 001. Should already have the skeleton file. So for a mask, it's fairly straightforward, because the mask is usually 100% attached to the face. So I'm just gonna, so the mask I'm gonna use is a custom mask from from what's it called? From Payday. So I'm gonna import that. There we go. Size-wise, seems alright. Like usual, I would import a face to use as a reference for where to place it and everything. But right now, this is just, you know, quick tutorial things. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna attach all of these parts together. Just so we have one model. And since we only have a singular model without any LODs, you can make your own LODs by using maybe the optimize modifier. So actually we might as well just do that while we're at it. You're learning today. So we're gonna move that. We're just gonna assume that around here is the correct point because that's where the other mask is. This is a long tutorial. So we have that mask, which is around that area, and then we have the new mask that is maybe a bit too far forward. Move it there. Obviously, use a model of a face to check for reference. So we're gonna hide that. Gonna make a clone of this. Copy, not in a sense copy. Use the optimize modifier. We're gonna hide this one. Face threshold. So that one's a bit more optimized, maybe 15. And let's see if the unwrap is still there. Unwrap is still there. It looks a bit funky, but it's still there. Then we're gonna collapse the modifier. You can see it's a bit more funky, but it's definitely lower detail. And then we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna make a clone of the original again, a copy. Put the optimizer on that. Gonna put this on just so we can see. Then we're gonna make it like 30. Bias. So we might be having some issues here with welding. So we're gonna select weld. There we go. So you can see it's trying to keep the shape. We're gonna set these back to 1, 1, 1. All right. So maybe 40, 40, 40, 40. Oh, so we're setting the bias down here a little bit. So this is the lowest LOD, so we shouldn't care too much about like what it looks like specifically. It just needs to be low. Okay, so in this case, we might actually be better off just welding things. Okay, so we're setting this up a little bit. There. So now we have 3 LODs. And if we hit 7 and we go to our config viewport and we go to statics and then total and select apply, we can check the difference between these. So if I hit this one, we have 4K. This one is 3K and this one is less. So I think we might actually just delete that, make a clone again. Weld. Boop. that's the wrong way. There we go. Yeah, so that's pretty much half. So we have the 3 LEDs. Just gonna put that texture on. So we're gonna go into our beard, and we're just gonna do the same thing because it's easier to work with materials this way. But the skinning itself, we're gonna change, and the vertex color. So we're gonna do the high. We're gonna attach, match, close, do low, which was 02, close, and then 003. There we go. And close. We're gonna do the same thing as selecting 1, select 2, select 1, select 2, whoop, set 2, there we go. And then select 1, select 2, there we go. I don't know if I've welded this. There we go. Alright. So, obviously we want to fix the material real quick so we can see what the fuck we're working on. So we have my custom skull has some textures. So as per usual, bump, skinning tutorial, custom mask, and then the normal map, the diffuse, and the specular. Specular is a bit scuffed on this one, but it is what it is. And then select the low, which has no bump, and we just do the same thing. So that one. Yep. So in this case, it might have given some skinning, but what you would do, yeah, it has some skinning, but you can see how it's kind of messy. This is not what we want. In this case, for a mask, we would just select everything. So Control A in Edit Envelope, and then Vertices, and then we select Scale Head. But if you don't have these bones already in this list, let's say you have this, you would click on Add. You would go into Beard 1, as you can see here. And then we go into Spine, Scale, Spine, Spine, Spine. We go to Neck, and then we have Scale Head. So we select Scale Head, click on our wrench tool down here again, and then we select every vertice and click on 1. So for a mask, they're all usually attached to the head. Nothing else, just the head. So right now, when he moves the head around, he would move the mask. We would do the same thing here. You can see the scale head is already there, so we're just going to do it like that. And then 1. For medium, we do the same thing. Scale head, select everything, and do 1. So now we have that. Or we have this attached to the head. But because this is a custom model, this is missing vertice colors and vertex colors and a lot of other things. So what you also have to do is go to editable mesh, go into your it doesn't matter, vertex mode or polygon mode, select everything. So again, Control A. You can see you have vertex colors over here. So color is 255 138 0. So this orange color, click on OK. Illumination has to be black. If you have a white illumination, wind will affect the mesh, meaning that when there is wind, it will start blowing and move, and it looks kind of funky. And then the alpha you want to turn to 0. If you have alpha set to 100, it will look wet at all times, which is kind of weird. Obviously, do the same for low, do the same for medium. So now you're pretty much done. You export this as per usual. You embed your diffuse map into a texture library as per usual. So check the previous tutorials if you wanna, get to know that shit or learn about that shit. But that's pretty much it. Custom stuff is not that bad. Just making sure you have like all the correct vertice colors set, and just attach it to a different model and then look over the skinning. So yeah, that's about it. This is a long fucking tutorial. I'm sorry, but hey, people wanted skinning, so here you go. All right, appreciate it. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.